From WREL News and the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, this is your Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief for Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. I'm Cliff Baumgartner. Here's the latest from WREL.com. Yesterday, Governor Roy Cooper announced North Carolina is holding in Phase 2 of its reopening plan for at least 3 more weeks as the number of coronavirus infections and hospitalizations continue to climb. The phase was supposed to last 5 weeks, but Cooper extended it in late June because of an accelerating number of infections and hospitalizations. That 3-week extension was to have ended this Friday evening, but Phase 2 will now continue until August 7th at the earliest. The governor said these measures are to help ensure schools can safely reopen next month, adding that coronavirus numbers in North Carolina are, quote, still troubling, and they could jump higher in the blink of an eye. Easing restrictions now to allow more high-transmission activities could cause a spike that would threaten our ability to open schools. The most important opening is that of our classroom doors, end quote. Businesses that weren't included in the Phase 2 reopening have challenged the restrictions in court, and state lawmakers unsuccessfully tried to pass legislation to undo Cooper's shutdown orders for bars and gyms. The state's coronavirus caseload has ballooned by 34% since the beginning of July. Hospitalizations remain at record highs, and the number of deaths from the virus have topped 1,500. In the same press conference yesterday, Governor Cooper said public schools will reopen next month under a Plan B model that includes in-person classes and online learning. This puts parents into decision mode. Do they send their children back to school or do they continue online? The state has laid out detailed safety protocols for every type of scenario. However, some parents are expressing concern about what would happen if their children or someone else on the school's campus gets sick. Secretary of the State Department of Health and Human Services, Dr. Mandy Cohen, said exposure to the virus doesn't necessarily mean schools would need to close right away. In terms of the state guidelines, here's what would happen if a student or staff member is exposed but is not showing symptoms. The person exposed is not allowed to enter a school and must immediately go home. They cannot use a school bus to leave. The person can return in 14 days if no symptoms develop and a COVID-19 test is negative. And of course, they may participate in online learning while they're out. However, if a student is showing symptoms, the protocol is more strict. The infected person must immediately isolate in designated areas with supervision. The school must notify a parent or guardian, and they cannot ride home on a bus once diagnosed. The student can't return until at least 10 days have passed since the first symptoms, and if a COVID-19 test is negative, the student may return once there's no fever for at least 24 hours. The student must participate in online learning while they're out. If there is a case inside a school, the state will begin contact tracing to determine how widespread the exposure may be. And lastly, North Carolina's highest court has temporarily blocked a judge's ruling that allowed dozens of North Carolina's bowling alleys to reopen. In a lawsuit filed by an association representing 75 North Carolina bowling alleys, Judge James Gale ruled Governor Cooper's executive order wrongly treated them differently than businesses with similar levels of risk for spreading the virus that the governor had already let reopen. Yesterday, the state Supreme Court granted the request of state attorneys for Governor Cooper, who says Gale's preliminary injunction last week would make it harder to reopen schools and other businesses as coronavirus cases increase. The Supreme Court's decision puts a temporary delay upon Gale's order, meaning the bowling alleys are subject to Cooper's directive once again and must shut down for now. The justices also agreed to review the content of Gale's decision. This has been your Coronavirus North Carolina News Brief for Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. As always, if you like the information and resources you get from this show, let us know. Leave a rating wherever it is you listen. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our new episodes. Thanks for listening.